So, since the last video where I gave you a sense of how these tiles are going to fit together, I've created 5 other tiles, all in the same general principled way, which is add the dark, deep recess shadow to the edges, 5 pixels of mid shadow, the highlights with some scuffed edges, and then the core wall colour with a filter, a noise filter, to make it look a little bit rougher. And the additional tiles I've created this north-south wall, which runs from north to south, south to north. I've created this cap for the north-south wall. So this is like the south end of a wall, the south edge of a wall. A north cap for the north end of the wall. And similarly for the east and west walls, I've created a cap for the west side and a cap for the east side. And all of those files are now ready, waiting to be used in my main map. I'm going to close all these off, and I'm going to go to File and New, and I'm going to create an image that is 768 pixels by 768 pixels, and I'm going to click OK. The white background's fine. You can always change it to a different colour. Keep it as white is just as good. And I'm going to go to File and Open as Layers. And if you recall, this allows us to bring in our little tile images. And the first tile I'm going to bring in is I'm going to bring in the tile floor. It appears here as a kind of a layer, but also as like the image itself. So I'm going to click M to move it, and I'm going to move it up here. Now, as you know, these floor tiles are where basically the floor is, where your characters and your enemies are going to walk around. And there's going to be lots of them. So I recommend what you do is you right click here in layers and go to New Layer Group. Not New Layer, New Layer Group. And call it Floor. Double click it and call it Floor. And then this tile, just drag in to that group there. And then when you right click and duplicate layers and go into your map, click M to move and position your floor tile there, you'll notice, I'm going to do another one just to sort of illustrate that. You'll notice that it all stays. Let's move that tile out of the way. You'll notice that they all stay within this group here. So you can just sort of close it off. So when you've got loads and loads and loads of floor tiles, you can sort of conveniently close that folder, or you can just hide it completely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build a section of the map with using all of the tiles. And there's my dungeon with the walls and several floor tiles. You'll notice that I've organised my wall tiles into their own layer group as well, just to keep them sort of nice and neat. I've not done the full image. I'll leave you to experiment to do the full image using your floor tiles to do the full image. But you can see how this is beginning to take shape. You'll notice that you've got quite a bit of a sort of a recess here when the tiles are put next to one another. The walls sort of stand out a little bit more. But it's just missing one little thing to liven it up. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. I'm going to right click in layers and I'm going to add a new layer called shadow. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to drag this shadow layer up to the top. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what's happening. And I'm going to go around with a pixel brush. So I'm going to click on my pencil. I'm going to make sure that my pixel brush is selected. I'm going to set it to a width of, I'm going to give it 10. And I'm going to change the colour to pure black. And I'm going to put a line of shadow just on the edge of the main recess there, so you can see I'm just zoom in a little bit more. I'm at the edge of the recess there, look. So I'm going to click once there, I'm going to scroll across, and I'm going to go to that. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to take it to the other side. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to add the shadow all the way around, and I'm going to do this for every section where the wall is next to the tiles. The trick to this is to try not to overlap them, although it doesn't really matter if you overlap them, but it does look better if you don't. So I'm trying to get this as neat as I possibly can so that I don't overlap. I'm not doing very well, mind you, but I'm trying my best. I'm going to add this shadow to everywhere the walls are adjacent to the tiles. So you'll see that I'm just going to have this last bit to do. If you do make a mistake, Control and Z it, go back. This does take a little bit of practice to get it right. And when you've done this, I've gone over the edge there. I didn't want to go over the edge. When you've done it and you zoom out, you'll see that you've got kind of black lines all around the walls. But I'm going to do two things to that. I'm going to click on my shadow layer. You should be on your shadow layer. So all of these black lines, and I'm going to hide the shadow layer. All of these black lines need to be in the shadow layer. And in my shadow layer, I'm going to go to Filters. And I'm going to go to Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to set the blur. Can you see how it's feathered the edges a little bit? You can play around with these numbers. I'm going to leave it about 1.5. And I'm going to click OK. If you go to Split View, you'll see how the edges are feathered off with this Gaussian blur here. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go to this opacity level here. Basically, opacity is transparency, it measures transparency. A 1 is completely solid, no transparency. A 0 is completely transparent. And I'm going to drag this down to about 75. Then I'm going to zoom to about 100. I'm going to take a look, and you'll notice that I've got a nice sort of neat shadow effect around my walls that gives it that sense of forced perspective, and it really brings the walls out from the floor. You may use a broader shadow. You might make it more, depending on your taste, you might make it more transparent, so easier to see through. You can mess about with these settings, but the gist of it is that it will give you that sort of sense of that forced perspective, making the walls stand out and look as though they are obviously sort of higher than the floor tiles. And that is how you finish off your dungeon map, or whatever map it is that you've decided to make.